Good morning. It's Dr. Bill Williams again on the Influencers Podcast. Welcome on a Monday morning. We're happy to talk all the way to New Delhi, India today with the CEO of JOP, Job Employee Experience Platform, Mr. Gaurav Subhawal. Welcome to the Influencers Podcast, Gaurav.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
I'm
Appreciate
glad you're
it.
here. And we'll spend some time together talking about what in the heck is JOP, JOP, and how can we learn about it? We can learn about it from the CEO, of course, the man who knows everything about JOP. How did you get started in that?
Absolutely.
And how you go to two countries. I was going to say bi-coastal, but no, you're crossing the Atlantic and the Indian Ocean to get here. How did you manage your life being in New York and New Delhi all during the same year?
Sure. So Bill, little about my background, right? I've been an entrepreneur little over 2 decades now, and started quite early at the age of 19. And my education, which is really into finance, and did from NYU, and I started working parallelly with that. And what I saw was that businesses tend to hit a glass ceiling at a point, and it's hard to break that. And for you to really grow and sustain that growth, you need to have the momentum of your team, your employees with you, right? And it is easier said than done to how to bring about your people on the same page for goal setting and keep them motivated to keep on hustling and getting to those goals as well. And that is what I wanted to solve for, and that is what meant that we need to kind of figure out a SaaS platform or a software to do that in order for us to be scalable and not just consulting, which kind of gives you a blip in the performance. And that led to job or joy of performing is what we are, working on at this point of time.
Joy of performing. There you have it. Everybody now has figured out what JOP means, and that's connected directly to your employees. And happy employees perform well. Very clear. I think
Absolutely.
we're right on target with
Absolutely.
where you're going with this now. It's a SaaS program. It's something that you can scale. It's something that others can purchase connections to improve their employee relationships, and eventually the goals that they set. You know, when I was in dentistry, and I just retired after 47 years, one of the hallmarks of why we were the most successful dentist in our realm was because we had employees buy in, and we set
Mm,
goals as a team, and we
mm,
actually had levels of employee goals where I set a standard for the practice, and then my managers and my team, they got to set goals based on my goals, and then the employees under those managers got to set goals based on the manager's goals. So I'm sure your software probably has something that's got layered amounts of goals where you can actually move down the organization goals
right.
specifically meant for that employee, not just the ones at the very top.
Absolutely. And it's interesting you said that because it is exactly what we do, right? We set up the North Star or the big BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal for the company on the top. And then once that corporate goal is set up, how do you make sense of it is what we call as objectives and key results. It's a framework, it's a beautiful framework which has been around for almost 40 years. Intel started it, Google has used it, LinkedIn, Facebook, and a lot of manufacturing, retail, other kind of industries are also on it today. So once you have set up those corporate OKRs right on the top, how do you cascade them down into business units, your teams, and then have that alignment tree very visual so that people can see where is the cause and effect? Like, how am I working today, and how is that going to have an effect on my team goals and thus my business units and thus my corporate goal, right? So it's a very visual representation, and it kind of gives you an instance very distinctively that where are the gaps or where the challenges are, so that you're not shooting in the dark. You know what the gaps are and how to fill them up. So that's exactly what Job does. And with that setting of goals on the top, how do you really take it to the 30,000 feet view low where rubber meets the road and you can enable execution on them is something that we have on the product as well.
I think we're on the same page. It sounds like what you're doing will bring this to every company that wants to use your platform. I was real huge on management by statistics and doing KPI. And I took the KPI not just in financial numbers, but also in different activities and even some of the core things I was trying to do in my practice was modify behavior. And so I would reward people financially with support with bonuses based on behavior improvement, like reading books, reading articles, like attending meetings on time, showing up. So does your software include things other than just the hard numbers when you do KPI?
Absolutely. I mean, these all behavioral aspects are absolutely important. You know, people talk about culture a lot. And for me, culture is a very wide, kind of a concept, which is hard to put your finger on and make it tangible, right? So the way I think about culture is if you can bring about discipline at scale in an organization, which can then move in the same momentum or in the same direction, that is that discipline that creates the culture in the organization. So all these aspects that you were talking about, whether people are coming in doing their check-ins on time, they're updating their progress, they're doing feedbacks, on time with their teams or not. So those aspects lead to the progress and lead to the momentum that we are talking about here. So those aspects are very well covered, recorded, and even motivated within the product itself.
So there's a little bit of a negative side to this modification of behavior based on cultural things. If the wrong people are trying to control, governments, for instance, modifying people's pay opportunities based on following their guidelines or what's proper or not. So how do you define proper versus improper guidance? Is there some kind of a check and balance in your system?
Yeah, so the way you do that is, we have incorporated what is called a cafe model, and that has served a lot of organization extensively well. And let me take a couple of minutes to describe what that cafe model is, right? So it starts with clarity of where the organization wants to go and complete transparency right from the top to the bottom, right? So the CEO to the janitor knows exactly what the organization priorities are and where the organization is going.
Like vision
Then
statement?
it is like a vision statement broken down into measurable results, right? So once that happens, then you align. The A is after the C, the A is for alignment, because from the top to the bottom and horizontally cut across, you want the teams to be aligned. And then it builds the focus. We live in the world of too many choices today. So how do you cut that noise and really prioritize and focus on things that really matter? That's the F of it. And E is the execution. That's where the magic happens. Because if you can execute well as a team and not just as a solo person, you can really move mountains. So that cafe model does it well. Now, the question was that how do you know whether it's the right or the wrong, or if it's going sideways, how do you bring it on, right? So what we do is we also do create those, what we call them as OKR champions within the organization, who can then handhold the teams and really figure out the checks and balances. So if somebody is getting sidetracked, they can bring them back and really help the whole organization as well. So that's one of the things we do.
What does OKR stand for?
Objective and key results.
There you go. Okay.
Right.
I like it. So,
Sure.
people don't always do well in this area, managing their teams. Give us 3 things that you've seen where it falls apart when people don't do well and what your actual software, what remedy it creates for these already noted failures that you're going to tell us about.
Sure, sure. So I think three things that come to my mind on top of my head. I mean, there are many things, right? But let's focus on three. So the three things, what I would say is the first is to creating that discipline, because on a philosophical level, everybody understands that this is what is required in a business to run as a well-oiled machine. But to create that momentum, create that discipline becomes hard, which is where the software and the technology really helps you, because it gives you those smart nudges. It gives you notifications if things are not happening. It kind of goes to your reporting manager if you need that help. So all of that can be sorted with the product itself. Second, people tend to take a lot of decisions with their gut because they have the experience and they know what is happening, and sideline data a lot of times. So, what this product does is that with the collection of data over the different teams it works on, and over the quarters or years that it works on, it creates intelligence for you to get fed that what kind of decisions you should be taking for your business and people at what given point of time, which is hard to do if you're not on technology. And then thirdly, it also kind of gives you that, people recognize people, but they kind of do it in private, or they tend to make heroes out of people and not what they are doing. So our product actually recognizes people and what they are doing very publicly, and that kind of creates that culture to replicate within the organization as well.
And I really like that. All three. I don't know if I would say one's more important than the other. Recognition for achievements rather than for personality certainly would cut down on a lot of workplace jealousies and
Right.
favoritisms, nepotisms, all
Correct.
kind of things would be better if we had that process. Yeah, I like it. That's very good. What motivates you to keep going and doing all this? You've obviously had a lot of success in your career, but this is something that looks like a product that's going to really take off and do well.
Yeah, one thing that really got my attention was that there is a quote which says, "People tend to work so hard, but achieve so little." Right? And a lot of times they get into anxiety, they get into depression, they get into mental health issues, not because they are stressed for the kind of or the amount of work they are doing, but the little result they get out of it, and all they have to face while they're doing that work. So how do we change that? How do we go to the grassroots level and kind of bring about that enablement for people to have better transparency, understand their goals well, work as a team cohesively towards that, and have a better life, have a better work life, is something which motivates me and make me do this every day of my life.
Sounds good. What about your company motto, JOP?
Yeah, the name says it all, joy of performing, right? We all are performing, at our work every day, 8, 10, 12 hours, 16 hours a day, crazy hours. But how do we create that joy so that we are working smart, we are working towards that one common goal and can achieve them as a team, is something what our motto is.
Perfect. So, what about somebody that's looking at different platforms? Why would they buy from you to use JOP?
Yeah, I like the power of three, right? So I'll give you 3 pointers. Why should they come to us, but maybe not our competitors? One is we are artificial intelligence first. So we have incorporated a lot of intelligence automation for the system to come in as and work with you, and not just a data entry tool, so that you can really get the benefit out of the product, right? Secondly, we've made the whole product very UI UX simple, because we wanted it to be very intuitive so that people are not spending time to really understand the rocket ship, but kind of work with it as they go along. And then third, we have included the element of services here as well, because we understand that sometimes you cannot just throw technology to this problem. Wherever it has people involved, you need to understand the gap areas. You need to provide that service so that the heavy lifting, maybe at the beginning, can be done by our professionals as well. So we have incorporated that services and solution with our product.
Excellent. Who's your ideal client?
Well, the ICP, or the ideal customer profile that we are looking at, is companies who have gone beyond a product market fit. So let's say they've got 50, 100 or beyond, a number of people, because in a very small team, you can get these things without a software, right? You don't really need it. But as the business goes high, you're getting to 100, 500,000, 5,000, 20,000, 100,000 people, right? The complexity of the business increases, and requirement of a product like this increases in your business. So that is what we are going for.
How do you find your clients right now?
Two ways, actually three. So we have outbound campaigns that we run. So we have identified our ICP, who's the persona within that, and then we run outbound campaigns with the pain points they have and the solutions that we offer. We also have a lot of inbound traffic now coming onto our website. So people who are looking for a solution like this, and mainly objectives and key results, OKR, which is quite a renowned framework. So they come to us. And then thirdly, we sell a lot with our partners. So there are a lot of consulting companies out there, HR consulting, business consulting companies, who provide this as a consulting, but then they don't have a product to kind of leave it at the company. So it is a hand in glove kind of relationship that we have with those consulting companies.
Do you market it as a white label for those consulting companies, or is it always JOP?
We have done so far always JOP, because it is not just the product, but it comes with customer success, customer service. It needs a lot of hand holding. So sometimes the consultants don't have the bandwidth to do all of that, right? And they don't want to take it on their brand. So they are very well open for this, that we are the consultants, we will help you to put this together, but then JOP is our partner who's going to make it run in your organization.
Okay. What about your competition? Anybody else doing this right now?
Yeah, there are a few companies out there, in the US, globally in Europe, and some in Asia as well. I don't think we need to crush our competition, to be really honest. I think the TAM, or the total addressable market of this product, or the service or the solution we provide, is so much and always increasing. Like more and more companies want that operational excellence, and we are not just too many of us at this point of time. So I think we can coexist, as well as we have the edge to kind of go penetrate the market more than our competition.
Yeah, tell us about the different products and what's the size of a product that they can purchase. Somebody that's a small business can get it, or is it only for the larger company, the Fortune 5,000?
No, I don't think that only the Fortune 5,000 are the only customers. Of course, they need it, but they have a lot of enterprise solutions out there. SAP, Microsoft, Oracle. They have a lot of enterprise products out there that can help them. For us, our sweet spot is the mid market. So companies who have, let's say, 200 to, let's say, 2,000, 5,000 employees, right? So that's our sweet spot. That's what we are targeting on. And we feel that that's the market that will absorb our product and really run with it as well.
Okay. The online platform you called JOP, Employee Experience Platform.
Mm-hmm.
And anything else beyond that you have?
Yeah. So while employee experience is great, but if you look at from a distance, like if you take one step back, right? How do you create that employee experience is by understanding strategy and doing your strategy execution right. So with employee experience, we also call it the right platform to help you with your strategy execution in your business. So it is the combination of both, combination of right strategy and strategy execution, and having the right kind of employee experience which makes the magic happen.
So you started out as a consulting firm who developed the platform rather than a platform that found consulting.
Actually, the latter. We are technology first, so we got into the product first, but truly understood that the customer needs more than just the product, and that is where we started creating the ecosystem of consulting as well.
There's somebody I interviewed a while back that was into pre-sale, and then they have post-sale. So do you have teams that are specific to deal with the pre-sale and then the post-sale?
Yeah, I mean, as a business, you need to kind of divide those, tranches of your business, right? So there has to be a team who's understanding the need of the business, and that is where pre-sales is required, and mild consulting is required at that point of time. Once you understand that, you can either go into full-fledged consulting, which is really understanding and breaking those OKRs or objective key results down, as I spoke about. But some companies are mature enough and they have it already, and they go right into the product. They don't need that service. And that is where the post sales come in, and the customer success team does that whole implementation of the product.
I got you. So how do you deliver 5-star client experience from JOP?
Easier said than done, but we are customer centric. Everybody says that, but we truly are. And that is the reason we also got into the whole consulting space, or, creating that ecosystem of consulting, at least, because we know that a client experience is the most important thing for you to have a retention and a scalable business. And that is what we deliver.
The big thing out there has always been the 5-star experience. And I'm familiar with a group out of Dubai that created what's called a Takdir Award, and they have escalated the evaluation process to a 7-star experience.
Wow.
And
That's great.
they're just moving from Dubai, they're moving now internationally to all countries of the world and offering the Takdir Award, which is $1 million prize to the number one company that they have as a 7-star winner. And it focuses on employee care and how well the company takes care of their employees. So it's not based on, how much profit they can make. It's not based on anything that is financial. It's based on employee satisfaction and how well the company works with employees. So I would think something like your software would be leading toward having a very highly motivated team of employees. And maybe they would want to connect with the Takdir Award people and see if they can win that $1 million prize.
Yeah, would love to understand more and learn more about this. And absolutely, awards and recognition always help. But I also want to go back that our customers are also people who are thinking about providing that 5-star experience to their employees, right? I mean, we're always thinking customer first or client first, but at the same time, who are servicing those clients and customers? They are your people. So unless you are taking care of your people, you cannot expect your people to be taking care of your client as well. So I think that's the yin yang that we solve for.
Yeah, it's true. If you look at the two sides of an equation, the customer is really important, but the person who serves the customer is maybe more important, because you can find more customers. You might not can find more employees, particularly in some instances.
Absolutely.
Some jobs are so hard to fill that it's a lot easier to get a new customer than it is to get a new employee.
And yeah, I mean, in my business experience, which has lasted a little over 2 decades now, I can tell you that, and I can firm this up, that one good employee is hard to replace than getting, 5 customers at some point of time in your business.
Yeah, in the dental business, we valued our dental assistant who worked hand in hand with us. across the chair doing surgeries way more than an individual patient. And so if it came down between an argument or a misunderstanding between the patient and the employee, we always would listen carefully because the employee is really important to keep.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So tell
Agreed.
us about turning your clients into brand ambassadors to speak highly of JOP.
Yeah, I mean that's what we really go for. There is a website called G2 Reviews, and it is very well known in the SaaS software world. It kind of gives you customer rating and how do your customers feel about you. We are actually one of the highest rated platform on that category that we are in. We've got more than 100 reviews from real users using our platform and giving us some great raving reviews about that. So I think that itself is a testimony of how do we really take care of client and really do give in more than our 100% to make sure that their business is successful.
And that's called G2 Reviews.
G2 Reviews, correct.
And how long has JOP been in existence?
A little over 3 years now. I would say about 4 years, almost touching. So yeah, but the parent company, which has been around, Saffron, has been around for, let's say, 16 years. So from that we got this idea and we turned this into a technology platform.
Excellent, excellent. Tell us what you're grateful for today, Gaurav.
Well, I'm grateful for being here, talking to you, Bill, sharing my experience, learning from you, and kind of take one day at a time and kind of keep on doing the good work that we can. And yeah, hopefully we are successful, and in this pathway of our success, we make a lot of successful business as well.
Gotcha. And you're in New Delhi, so how does one start their day off in New Delhi?
Well, I mean, I've lived in New York. Even today, I spend half my year there. To be honest, it's not really different, right? I think how you start your day is not so much of where you are, but how do you discipline yourself? How I start my day is, getting up, spending some time with my wife. If my kids are home and they haven't left for school, then yes, spending some time with them, and then yeah, starting with my exercise routine that I have, and then going get to work, and yeah, spending the day with my team, come back, have early dinner, and yeah, call it an evening, call it a night.
Sounds like you're just working like the rest of us, having a good time, enjoying your family, dedicating part of your time to self, part to your family, spiritual, health, and of course the workplace. It's,
Absolutely.
it's well known that
Absolutely.
people in India work a lot of hours.
That is true. We're just bunch of hardworking people. What can I say? But I think today, no matter where you go, west, east, if and it depends also on where you are in your business or your career, right? So, I mean, my previous businesses, which are well settled, if I was just a part of that, I didn't have to work as hard as what I need to do today because I'm setting this up right now. So I think as we go along, it gets better. But yeah, initially it does take a toll on you.
Why is it that so many of the companies around the world rely on Indian technology expertise in the software development? Because it's well known that India leads the world in software development.
Yeah, I think it goes back to our education system. It just from the primary, secondary, and so on and so forth. It gives a lot of priority to STEM, science and technology, engineering, maths, and it also gives a lot of priority to education in the first place. So I think it goes from there, and and then if you look back, let's say 20 years or so, um, we were not doing so well as a country, and then the engineering or the computer sciences boom came in, and the whole middle class started to move up, right? There was a big higher class and a very big lower class, right? There was nothing in the middle. So that got the whole economy, that got the whole socio-economic change in the country, and then people want to replicate that, and new and young people want to come in and be do good for themselves, and that is where the opportunity they got. So I think that's just how it has been.
I know I've known a lot of Indian people here who migrated to the U.S. and a lot of Indian folks like to become dentists apparently because many of my friends are from India originally, or their
Right.
parents. So the medical professions was always very attractive. But I think the IT and the programming business has overtaken the medical now.
Yeah, I think both are very strong, and actually there is a big wave of professionals now coming back to India from the West as well. With the ample opportunities here, and I today think that we are. I mean, at least I think I'm no matter where my passport is from, but I'm a global citizen. So I can be on a plane 12 hours. I can be in New York and work my day like the way I'm working here. And when that is covered, I can come back and start my day all over again. So I think it's overrated of where you are, what you're doing, and who are you doing it with, and what is the end goal that you have, and how are you going to achieve that is more important than where you are and what citizen you're from.
Yeah, absolutely. You're a C-suite level digital nomad. I've I've interviewed a lot of people who are digital nomads on the Influencer podcast, and you don't have to be the low end of the scale, just barely getting by. You can do it from the seat of the first class seat in the airplane, skirting the Atlantic or the Pacific, just as well as you can do it um, from a kayak, on the Rio Grande.
Yes, that is exactly right. That is exactly right.
Tell me about the advice that you would give a young 20-year-old self. What what was it like when you were 20 years old, and what have you learned, and what would you advise yourself to do any different or stay the course?
No, I think I would say, of course, and I would say enjoy every decade of your life because it's not going to come back. So, yes, at 20, you have that fire in your belly that you really want to do good and win the world. But at the same time, you're the peak of your youth, so you want to make sure that you're building experiences, traveling the world that if you can, and then work hard for it as well. But yeah, I mean, not take it too seriously that you end up being 40 and not knowing what 20 was like. So, I think that's important as well.
Yeah, you really hit on a good one there. I like the answer you gave. An hour ago, I was interviewing someone who was 22 years old in
Mm.
New York, and they had already completed their first year of a startup successfully. They had created a SaaS platform that would allow them six, seven figure income at 22 years old. So,
Okay.
yeah, there's things that people do that in their 20s they could be very successful.
Absolutely.
And here you are,
Absolutely.
very successful at your age, and you're how old are you now?
I'm 41.
So think about this: you're 41 and you're very successful. I started over at age 48, and I was successful before, but I moved to a new place and started a new practice, and I was able to do five times better at my second place than I did at my first place, starting at 48.
Wow. And why did that happen, Bill? If maybe it's you
Well,
asking me questions, but if I can ask you that question,
yeah, it's called location
right?
and focus. I,
Hmm.
I started focusing. It was the dawn of the internet when I started over. And so I became a programmer myself and built websites, and I built a website for my own practice. And so I became the dominant marketer in our area. And so I put everything together. I had studied under J. Conrad Levinson, the father of guerrilla marketing. And I did everything he said to do. He had a book, Guerrilla Marketing, and said, here's 200 things that a guerrilla marketer can do to be successful. I did all 200 of them. And it was very true that I was more successful than my neighbors who didn't know anything, do anything to market
Right,
themselves. And so we
right.
grew, we grew, and we were able to outspend them on marketing when we grew. So we
Mm,
kept growing because we had the ability to grow. And
understood.
that's kind of the whole picture of why success happens for people is they can do things that matter.
Mm,
Other people, they can't do it. They can't afford it.
understood.
Now,
Agreed.
what about your being impactful to others? Now, it sounds as if JOP is very impactful as a business.
Mm. So when you say being impactful for others, I think the whole wave that we are riding on is you need to be impactful for your people and for the employees, and that will make you impactful for their business as well. So the whole premise of Joy of Performing or JOP is on that.
If I had to ask you a question about your future, and when it's
Mm.
all said and done, what do you want to be remembered for?
Well, going back to that statement, right? People are working so hard, achieving so little. How can we change that? How can we change the tide and make people the best of themselves, right? So if I can do that, if I can do for enough number of companies, enough number of people, and make a real difference for their productivity, their performance, I would be a happy soul.
Excellent. I think you're on the way to achieving that from what I can tell. Knowing what difference it made for me to have that kind of a system in my office. And I was very rare. I was under the tutelage of Action International Coaching, and I was having Brad Sugar's information brought to me. And because I had that, and no other dentist anywhere near me had that, I was head and shoulders above everybody else because I had systems a lot like what you're developing, but they were not in a software program. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have had what you have now back then, 20 years ago. How can we support you, and what's the way we can connect to JOP?
Sure. Well, it takes a village to build up a business. So any kind of connects that you think could be useful for us would be great. So happy to take those conversations forward. As far as people approaching me, they can look me up on LinkedIn. My name is Gaurav Subhawal. And they can also find getjop.com. So that's our website, and we have a LinkedIn account for JOP as well. And we have a lot of information that we share on that channel. So if you want to just kind of be tuned in into performance and aligning that business and people performance, you would find that content interesting.
Excellent, excellent. JOP.com. That's easy, simple. I encourage everyone to go and check it out. How can you express yourself about being on the Influencers podcast today? Did you have fun?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. It was a very candid experience and conversation. And Bill, you've been great from the get-go. The whole point of structuring this well and inviting me here. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely. I want to give you the last word before we close out to the audience. Then I'll come back and speak with you at the end. And Gaurav, so I'm going to give you the podium right now.
Right. I would say, get job, get the joy of performing, because you will end up a lot of hours, a lot of time with your team and trying to move the next big challenge for your business, for your teams. And if you have a product which can enable you to do that while you're doing it, it just makes the journey more easier and more fun. So get job, get joy of performing for yourself and your people.
Thank you, Gaurav. That's excellent final word. And I think if you get joy for your employees, then you'll have joy when you go to the time to look at your bank account too. They all go hand in hand, don't they?
Absolutely. One cannot be without the other.
Now, to our audience who may not be familiar, I have my QR code there where you can link to me and get your freedom started, your freedom train. A little bit about where that QR code goes. It goes to my digital business card. So anybody who's looking to reach me will immediately see two things. One is the Influencer Podcast. It's a list of all the podcasts we've done, over 120 podcasts this year on the Influencer Network. So that's drbillwilliams.tv, where you'll also find my international best-selling books that I've written, mostly about management and leadership and marketing. Then you'll be able to also find our information about our SaaS products. We actually develop SaaS products with IT technology, AI built in, just like you do. And so we have some that are free we give away. So I want to encourage everybody to go to otrim.co with my name, Dr. Bill W., because you get a free chance to use a link shortener. And it actually builds QR codes. And it's also given to you for free. So anybody who wants it can get access through this link right here. And we have other products available, such as a video conferencing tool called OConnect. And one of the features that we're really proud that we're going to have available to the public is automatic translation. So I'll be able to speak to my friends in India that only speak Hindi, and I'll speak English and they'll understand me in Hindi. So that'll be part of our program as we develop it and bring it to the future. We have tracking devices where we can do similar to Google Analytics. We can track websites and how they're performing. And we have geofencing and heat maps and all the things that go with tracking devices. So everything's out there available, and I want to make that acknowledgement for everybody that SaaS products are the way it is. JOP's put together their version. We put together our version of SaaS products, and it's the future of the internet is software as a service. Thank you for being with us so much. It's been extremely gratifying for me to interview you, Gaurav, and I hope that our audience gained a lot about learning about JOP today.
Thank you so much, Bill.
You're sure welcome. You guys, will see you on Wednesday for the next episode of Influencers Podcast. Take care.